This is the Fresh Pot with Cup of Code, where every episode is a fresh start and every conversation is a perfect blend. Let's get brewing.
All right. It is our second episode of the podcast, the Cup of Code podcast. Mm-hmm. And Samantha, our first question of the topic is
the customer always right?
Tim?
Are we looking at this in terms of our discretion when it comes to what they ask us to do versus what we think is best?
I believe so.
We can start there.
Okay. That's a really tough subject to navigate because a lot of times customers will watch something on YouTube or on some little Udemy or course and they'll have all the ideas and they don't realize it doesn't relate to their industry. And then they tell us what they think we should do, and we know what we should try to do. And sometimes it's hard to have that conversation when the customer has an endpoint in mind, and we have a long-term plan.
So how do you start those conversations with customers then?
That usually starts in the sales process.
Yeah, our customers want a whole lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they don't understand how to accomplish that end result. And so they'll ask for all of it. It's then my job to start by managing the communication flow about what we do as a company. I think early on when Cup of Code was, in its fledgling days, months, and where I had come from as well, you always want to, say to a customer, sure, of course we can do that for you. Even though it may not be, one of your expert skills or right in your wheelhouse, but you'll what's the old saying? Fake it till you make it. You'll figure it out. Mm-hmm. I think now we're at a point where it's more important to us to say we offer these products and we do them really, really well. We do them at a great price point. We do them efficiently. And so that when we say to a customer, especially with a website, 4 to 6 weeks, you're getting a website, you get a website in 4 to 6 weeks. Because our customers come to us saying, hey, I'm coming from this other company. They told me 2 months, 3 months, and I'm like 7 months into this web build. Can you just finish it for me? Mm-hmm. So I think now we're at that point where is the customer always right? To an extent, but we're not always the best fit for the customer. And so it's, I think, our responsibility to manage that communication right up front and say, I know what you want, and I can do, if not all of it, most of it. But that one thing that you're asking is not something that we are experts at, and I don't want to let you down.
Or it's not something we recommend doing. We run into that a lot too, where a customer asks for something and we don't think it's the best fit for their budget.
So we've done that.
We have.
But I think we've also been honest enough with the customer to say, I know that you want that. However, we don't agree with you. We are digital marketing experts. We don't agree. And they still come back and say, yeah, but I've got the money and I'm going to pay for it. Mm-hmm. And I think some of the time we've done that, but with the understanding that the results are not going to be our responsibility if it fails.
Yeah, we'll take an idea that we don't think is the best fit for their budget and we'll try to find a way to make it work as good as we can based on what platform. I mean, it might be something as simple as maybe they're a business to business and they want a Facebook campaign, and Facebook campaigns aren't super ideal for business to business. And we find a way to make it work to a certain capacity. But another thing that we run into a lot is customers that we have to discuss lead generation versus sustainability and growth and branding. Customers that are looking at today and tomorrow versus 5-10 years down the road.
Yeah, there's definitely a different mindset about, especially in our contractor base that we have, which we have a lot of, who expect that they're going to spend money and it will immediately result in phone calls, emails, and dollars coming in and new clients. And while that is the goal, it in a top-of-mind branding campaign where like Facebook is, or where maybe a digital billboard campaign is running, they're not meant to drive sales specifically for a promotional item. They're there to increase awareness about the overall brand. That's a struggle we have every day, right?
It really is a struggle, and it comes down to the idea of, I always just explain it to them in the way where you want to get to a point where people don't have to shop around. They have a service, they have a need, and they just know to go right to you. Lead generation is you're forcing them to say that you have this service. Building your brand is saying, we do this when you're ready, just think of us.
I think one of the things that we really excel at is educating the customer. So we take a lot of time to explain our processes to the point where they could get off the phone with us and say, he just taught me how to do everything that I need.
Yeah, we've always done it like that.
Yeah,
We give them the entire playbook. That way they can try it. If it works for them, perfect. If it's too much for them to handle, we're hoping that they pick up the phone and call us.
That's something I found when I met you guys was that was kind of your method of doing things, was explaining the whole process, and then they, I guess, realized it's something they couldn't accomplish on their own, or the task was too big, and then that would bring work in. So
It's not that anything that we do is difficult. It's just time consuming. And the more you do it, like we do it every day, we get much more efficient at it than somebody who has to run a business, run inventory, run payroll, run employee stuff, and then also do this on top of it.
I actually just went through this earlier today. One of our customers called to do a location-based ad, and me and Tim sat debating whether we should take away from their branding ad that is running or take away from their other location-based ad to match their budget. So we do go through this every day.
It's a real struggle.
where does the line in the sand get drawn between what the customer wants done and what is right?
I look at it as the potential to work. So if I have zero, like if I wouldn't do it for our own company, I'd have a hard time doing it for a customer's company. If I try it for our company and see what happens, then it's worth putting some effort into it and giving it a shot.
I think part of that education process, when we're teaching them about how our digital marketing processes work and why they're tried and true and why we use best practices, and over explaining that, right? To the point where we feel like we're saying the same things over and over because they're coming for a quick fix. Some of them, not all of them. We do have partners that say to us, you're the expert. I don't have the time. Just manage this for us.
Do it. Yeah.
Those are great customers because they trust us, just like their customers trust them to fix whatever the solution is that they offer. However, I think if there's one thing that I hear you explaining on the phone, you, Brandon, and what I'm doing is re-explaining the process over and over and those best practices so that at the end of the day, they realize, okay, I mean, he told me what's been working for dozens and dozens of clients for years, but I still want to do it another way. So they're taking ownership of that decision. And I think when you say, or you ask the question, is the customer always right? If they can take ownership of the plan moving forward, then they'll accept the wins and the losses as they come, but you'll keep them as a customer. And that's what we're looking for, really, is the long-term relationship through honesty and transparency.
I got a question for you, Sam, and I specifically want your thoughts on this because I
Okay.
think I know how you guys will answer it. Thinking about doing the right thing for businesses as far as growth, whether it's lead generation or brand building, what is your thoughts and what's your ideas when it comes to the difference between building a business and building a brand? I know it's a tough one, right?
Should have asked me this 20 minutes ago so I had time to think about
No,
it.
on the spot, on the fly. The difference between building a business and building a brand.
Building a brand and building a business.
Yeah. I guess it starts at, what do you consider a brand?
Okay. I guess I would consider brands things like Nike, right?
Okay.
But Nike's also a business.
What about Nike makes you think it's a brand?
The imagery, the familiarity of the logo, the swoosh.
So you can almost recognize them without even seeing
Without
their name,
even seeing it. Yeah.
whether it's a color palette, whether it's a shape, whether it's a logo.
Yep.
So what we try to talk to customers about with these long-term 6-month, year, whatever growth plans is that's what we're trying to get to versus building a business, which is I just started. I need sales now.
And this is where you can find me.
Yep. Just trying to stump you.
You did stump me because that's a challenging question. But when you break it down like that, a familiar brand versus maybe just like a business, they are two completely different things.
Take a Nick.
Well, sometimes, not that it's a fault of ours, but sometimes I think we focus on brand too much with local customers. not that it hurts them, but sometimes they don't want to get as big as we may want to get. So we're looking at a brand of building it throughout the United States, and they're looking at a brand that's only in their county or 3 counties. So they want a mix of both, and we've always been focused on building the brand because that's usually what works best in the long run.
Yeah, it's definitely the mile high view. And that's actually a question that we learned to start asking the hard way when customers start talking to us about our services. We actually ask them, like, how big or how busy do you want to get? Because there is such thing as over marketing for a business that isn't ready for that kind of influx yet.
You guys have run into that before.
Yeah. Yeah, and making a business way too busy that they end up dropping the ball or getting bad reviews, that's not helping them.
No,
Or just saying I need to stop marketing because
Yep.
that's
I'm
too
too
much.
busy. Yeah, I
Yes.
can't take anymore.
So we learned to ask that we learned to ask that question early on, and just flat out when it's like, especially like a mom and pop shop or somebody that we know is a smaller business, how busy can you get?
With the brand building with Cup of Code, when did you start building the business versus the brand, or was it at the same time?
I don't think we ever built a business. I think we built a brand and the business just happened. We've always been very visual and brand centralized.
Take it away.
That has to do with patience most times because people want to build their business fast. And when you're trying to build a brand, you have to have patience for it to work in 5 to 10 years, not 5 to 10 weeks.
And it did seem like when it really worked, it kicked in really, really well. Like when it actually hits, it hits good.
It's interesting. I had a different introduction to Cup of Code from the brand building side versus the business building because my former business had my name on it, and so my brand was my name, and but I was worried about building the business. Right, I was looking at it from a standpoint of how much money can I bring in, how many clients can I bring in, and how can I try to become as efficient as possible with the fewest amount of clients, because I didn't have the capacity to go beyond and handle a certain amount of work. So I was trying to create those efficiencies with the fewest amount of clients that made the most amount of money so that one person, myself, could handle all of it. And brand building was just something that came along with me being very regionalized. You know, the nice part about being a guy that's on TV for a decade is that people know your name. It's like Cheers, right? Everybody, you walk in, they know who you are.
Your name.
Right.
So your name was the brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things.
The idea of having a small customer base that sustain your entire business is terrifying.
Not to me, because again, relationship building, the core customers that I had were ones that I had for a very long time. And so I was able to take that extra time to build depth in the relationships to make sure that they weren't going anywhere. However, not a scalable practice, right? That's a word that we talk about a lot at Cup of Code because we're not business building, we're brand building. And we have customers in multiple states around the country. And I can't take the amount of time with each of those clients that I did with my former business because it's just not sustainable, right?
One thing that counteracts that, though, that I think we have an upper hand for, as at least like our local competition, is that the fact that we do take on as many clients as we can in as many industries as we can, we learn a lot and we learn it really, really fast. So if you have 10 customers that sustain you for 5 years, where's the ambition to go out and learn and stay up with best practices if you have that solid little paycheck? So we've always looked at it as the more that we can do, the more we're going to learn, the more we have to learn if we want to stay, at the head of the pack. We've always tried to stay a step ahead in pretty much everything. Like so many companies get comfortable because what they're doing works and they don't realize that things are changing around them and they're not moving their customers into those trends.
I think that goes back to the very root of what we started talking about. We, Cup of Code, are upwardly driven or upwardly mobile, right? We want, the sky is the limit for us, but not every single one of our customers have that same mentality, or that's not their goal. Like our goal is to become a global company and for everybody to know what Cup of Code means. And that's not what, I don't know what the percentage of our customers are. Not everyone wants that same thing. So for us, sometimes the challenge is just what the question was, how do we want a brand build or do we want a business build? And some of our folks, they want a business build, and that's perfectly fine for them because that's what will sustain them, make them happy. They can kind of go home every night and say, hey, I did a good job today. I sold 10,000 of these, widgets, and that was my goal for the day. Meanwhile, we're going home and we're getting 11 o'clock emails that say so-and-so would love to have a
They must pay more.
I think that what were
Start at 11 o'clock at night.
Oh yeah. Where, some people are going home at the end of their shift, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, and saying, I did well today because I made as many of these things that I wanted to. I can't say we're open 24 hours a day. We're darn close to it, though.
Please don't say 24 hours.
We do like to sleep a little bit.
We do.
But we're responding to inquiries, emails from customers.
It's definitely on a basis of how much the priority depicts our response time.
Yes.
There's times that pretty much if an email comes through, we have to jump on it because there's things that we're responsible for and we're liable for, and things happen, and we just have to make sure we fix them. Other stuff can wait till the next day. We do have customers that are just starting a business, or they have an idea to start a business, and they contact us, whether it's a word of mouth referral, and they don't have a very high budget or no budget at all. And we can't always work with them, but we can always at least guide them toward a solution. And I know you get the first layer of that with your phone calls.
Yeah, I think there are customers that may be too small, but this is where we get into an education and a teaching moment with them. Mm-hmm. And we're very transparent and honest with them about the process. So we'll say things like, a landing page website on WordPress would be a good place for you to start that will scale with your business. The base price that Cup of Code offers to get that going is X dollars. And for you to have hosting and a domain and a website built, your first year, you're looking at around $1,000 of an investment to be able to get into that space. And that will scare some people away. Mm-hmm. But it also gives them a goal that they can say, okay, now I know where I need to get to if I would like to have a professional design company like Cup of Code come to the table and build something for me.
I don't think it's ever a question of the size, but maybe just not the right timing in their business. I don't know if we fit at that particular time, but we do educate them on what they can be doing to get themselves there.
I don't think we'll ever get too big for any project. I think down the line we'll have different parts of Cup of Code that help different size businesses.
Unpopular opinion. I don't think the business size matters. I think the ambition of the person starting the business matters. So somebody that has no ambition wouldn't probably get as effective as a phone call or a meeting with us as somebody who is super ambitious and then just hits the ground running. So I don't think it's the size of the business or the size of the income. I think it's the size of their motivation and their ambition.
That's deep.
I know, right?
Deep thoughts with Tim Keeley.
Fortune cookie.
So what about people that want to build their own website?
I mean, there's definitely options out there. And that's maybe for those customers that it's not the right time. There's a path they can take to get something out there, but ultimately we hope that they'll come back around because we have the experience and the know-how to take what they maybe started and get it out there further.
I'm kind of torn on that topic because there are resources like free website builders and even organizations that'll help businesses with a starter website. But you got to remember that that's your first impression to your customer base. And if you're not making a good first impression because you just slap something together, 5 years from now, that might still be the impression in somebody's mind.
So is a bad first impression worse than no impression at all?
I think so. I think, honestly, that a bad first impression is going to slow you down more so than no first impression on a website because social media you can't screw up. Just post away.
I'm torn there.
We've seen that a couple of times where we have customers that come to us with their first website, a free website or a homemade website, and you know that somebody Googled them and found them and then found their competitor, and just based on the website alone, they chose to go with competitor because it was maybe easier to navigate. Maybe their quality of work looked better because of how the site was laid out. Maybe it was more up to date. Maybe it loaded faster. There's a ton of reasons.
Yeah. I'm inclined to agree with you on that. However, I feel like if we follow our mantra of making the effort, that like putting the effort in to just have a space is that checks a box for me. Like, hey, you tried and you did the best of your ability, and that's what you got. So you kind of get what you pay for, right?
Yeah, but to a customer, say that you're doing something like interior design and you have a website that reflects really good design and a website that is just slapped together with no rhyme or reason. If you're looking for a visual-based service, you're probably going to buy into a visual-based services, better-looking website.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I agree with you. I just don't think that the customer remembers that in 3 years.
No, but 3 years is a long time for somebody that's just starting a business.
Correct. I think them trying is a step towards something, just not like maybe for the first year if they can't afford it.
From our experience, though, you know that these starter websites, when we talk to them about a full-blown marketing package and we start things like Google Pay-Per-Click and they say, I already have a website, they're under the impression that having a website is the same as having a functional funnel website.
And that's where it comes in. That's where it's Norm's job to talk them into a legit website.
Yeah.
So I get why you're torn there. Like they're taking the step, but
I guess I should say when you take the step and get something free or poorly made, and then you just hang on to that because you don't want to invest in anything better.
Yeah, it's we have this conversation every single week. We have these local organizations that will actually have grant dollars and they'll funnel dollars into local business to be able to help them get that start because they've used that free resource. Maybe they went to a local college and had some students, build a website for them. But at the end of the day, the effort that was made was well intentioned, but how effective was it?
I don't like the idea of a business that somebody pours their heart and soul into being the product of somebody who's trying to get a C on the report card.
Everybody starts somewhere. The college student that's creating that free website, the business owner is just starting out relying on that college student. I mean, it's a cycle, right? And eventually they make it to our level of that cycle where they're able to afford, or they've saved, or they have received a grant, and now they can really take it seriously. I think gone are the days of being able to just limp by with some sort of a presence. Digital marketing is so competitive and everybody's fighting for every single edge that you have to be your sharpest online.
Yeah, your website has to tell you that you found the right place or the right product within like 2 seconds.
Think about the way it was 20 years ago when you were, let's say, the local music shop and you sold guitars and drum kits, and someone asked you, well, how do you market your business? You had radio, billboard, newspaper.
No, you give every musician stickers to put on their guitar case and their drum cases.
That too.
Yeah, coming from a guy who was in a band. Yeah. But your marketing choices were so easy 20, 25 years ago because you could go, if you were geographically a smaller area, you could go to 3 or 4 different places and cover all the bases.
Yep.
And you were done. Easy peasy.
And now it's super competitive. Super competitive.
And fractured. Think about that. I think that's one of the values that we bring is we deal with all of these different vendors and digital marketing tools, and we can say, hey, what juice is worth the squeeze, because they don't have endless supplies of a budget to go buy all of those things to be seen in 100% of the places. They have a limited budget. So where do they spend it? That's value for us.
All right, so here's a question for you. If a business already has a Facebook and a website and they just come to you and say, I just want to get my name out, I just want to get sales, what do you do?
You sound like a contractor.
I think that's any high profit margin or high value short-term business. I think they all have the same mindset.
Yeah. We've had that. We just had that call yesterday with that company in Texas. There's a shotgun blast approach to telling everybody, standing on the building with the megaphone, and yelling at everybody. It's not targeted. It's everybody within earshot. And then there's the long term. We heard it a couple times. People want the sniper style of marketing. They want accuracy, and I think you can become almost too accurate, right? Where you can get super nichey and then exclude. So, where's that middle ground?
Especially with digital marketing. With digital marketing, you're basing your criteria for demographics off what somebody is willing to show or supply. So if you try to get too pinpoint with your targeting, you might be missing stuff just because they've never shown an interest with it on a Facebook page or within their browser history or anything like that. I think a lot of it has to do with the service. Restaurants are a great example. Restaurants, you can just kind of run and gun because really, what are you doing? You're trying to get people in there for lunch. It's 10:30 and you start blasting these ads out to local places of business and you're just trying to get people to call that place for lunch versus somebody who's going to be putting a deck on your house. That's like a long-term investment that you have to plan, prepare for.
Yeah, and the other thing nice about restaurants is it can be one of the most challenging and one of the most rewarding as well, is that everybody eats. Not everybody wants to shop for the service that some of our clients are offering or have the ability, the resources to be able to purchase that $20,000, addition on their house, or that $1 million, construction project. So, when we get targeted, how targeted do we get and where do we go to reach those people?
I kind of use the model if it's a reaction buy, meaning if you can get hyped up and just drop the money without thinking about it, targeting should be a lot less strict. If it's something where you have to plan, talk, maybe even it's something that you need to find financing for or get a bunch of prices for, those you can be a little bit more targeted with because you're going to have to show people more than once. Reaction buys, you can show them once and they might buy into it.
Nick, do you want to talk about marketing for restaurants? What that's like? You don't have to.
Passing the mic.
Yeah, spin it over.
I can talk to you about marketing for restaurants on Facebook or social media. Like that goes back to brand building and just trying to get customers fast. Because as a restaurant, you're only targeting people within a 20 to 50 mile radius. So as much as we tell everybody not to use the boost button on Facebook, like for restaurants, you use the boost button. For people that want to do just business building, the boost button is not a bad thing. We're currently in testing right now for the boost button and just building business fast rather than building a brand. So it doesn't just go for restaurants, it goes for contractors or people that just want to build their business fast but they're not thinking of the longevity of their brand. But yeah.
You should turn to a mirror now and say that you're good enough and you're smart enough and doggone it, people like you.
I am strong. I
Yeah.
am beautiful. I am wise.
That's
A lot of nice things to say about Norm.
Right?
You're none of those.
And there goes my motivation.
Yeah.